So this is the post-banlist Springans Fire King deck, featuring a whopping 2 Springans cards in the main deck, which is totally enough to classify this as a Springans deck. Just ask MBT, which I'll explain the Springans Engine a little later. But first, let's discuss the post-banlist part. And the more I've been thinking about it, the hits to Fire King Snake Eyes, and the more I've been playing and testing this deck with the hits, the less I feel the hits actually did, specifically to the Fire King Snake Eyes deck. Because really, essentially, this deck is almost the same as my deck pre-balance. It's literally only lost 2 cards, and that's it, which is the 2 cards I conveniently replaced with the 2 Springans cards. But it lost 1 Poplar and this 3rd Kirin, so like just 1 copy of each of these, which just in terms of like just deck building in general, not a huge difference. But I guess we can discuss the individual hits. So first of all, the Poplar going from 2 to 1. I mean, technically it went from 3 to 1, but 99% of Fire King builds only play 2 Poplar in the first place, so you're really only losing to 1 copy of Poplar in Fire Kings. And this is a hit that most people are making a huge deal out of, and are suggesting that it's a bigger hit than the Kirin going from 3 to 2. And now, I'm not suggesting that this is a bad hit or anything, or that Poplar going to 1 does nothing, but I think people might be overestimating the impact of this hit, specifically to Fire King Snake Eyes in particular. Now, obviously, if we're talking about pure Snake Eyes, this is a completely different story, and like pure Snake Eyes relied on Poplar more and had to actually run 3. So that if pure Snake Eyes is hit a lot harder by this hit than Fire King Snake Eyes, in my opinion. And first of all, people are calling Poplar a Garnet, which is like, I'm not quite sure people know what that word means, because a Garnet is like driver. It is like people refer to as like, you know, the OG Gemini Garnet, or like something like a driver, something where if you draw it, it's a complete brick and it's like a dead card in hand. Whereas if you draw a Poplar in a Snake Eyes deck, you can normal summon Poplar, and then you can do your combo. So like this is literally a starter. Like you can literally Poplar leads to Fire King combo, which is like way more than something than a Garnet does normally. I don't think it's correct to call Poplar, like suggest that because Poplar is going to 1 that it's a brick, when in fact it is still literally a starter card. It's specifically is kind of a brick only if you specifically draw it with a few different cards in the deck, which is like Ash, and Bonfire. Because in Fire King Snake Eyes, even drawing Poplar with Diabellstar does not really brick you at all, because when you start with Diabellstar, you're using Ash to search Pawnex. You're not and normal summoning the Pawnex. You're not even going searching Poplar most of the time when you start Diabellstar. So there's only like 3 cards in this deck where drawing Poplar in combination with them is like makes the Poplar a suboptimal draw. But like if you draw Poplar without seeing these 3 cards, and with like 37 other cards in your deck, the drawing to 1 Poplar does not really affect you almost at all in your combo line. And then even then, okay, so obviously I think drawing Bonfire with Poplar is probably the worst, because then you don't have the option to Bonfire for Poplar if it's at 1, and use it as a free extender and as a starter without using a normal summon, which I think is one of the strongest uses of Bonfire in Fire King's deck. But like hear me out. Even drawing Ash with Poplar together, first of all, it's 2 1-ups in your deck, which is already kind of unlikely to draw the 2 of these together. But even if you draw Ash and Poplar in the same hand, you can still make use of both of them. Like, you're not going to normal summon Ash, obviously, because that does nothing. That's the downside of like drawing Poplar and Ash together. But you can normal summon Poplar, do your Fire King combo, which then eventually will get you to your Fire King Island. And then you can Fire King Island, because this is the Fire King deck, this is in pure Snake Eyes, you can pop the Ash that's in your hand, and then in your combo you will eventually get the Promethean Princess. Promethean Princess can revive the Ash, and then you can Ash still acts as your Flamberge that way, and still acts as part of your Snake Eye engine, even if you draw Ash and Poplar together. It's just, in my opinion, the worst is when you draw Bonfire and Poplar. You can still do the Poplar, you know, Ash thing where you pop Ash in your hand with Fire King Island if you draw Bonfire, but you can't use the Poplar as an extender anymore. That's the biggest downside. But I mean, still, it's like 3 cards in the deck that you don't want to see together with Poplar, and even then, like, you can still make use of both of them together if you happen to draw them, and Poplar at the worst case is still a card that you can normal summon and still do a combo with. So I really don't think it's correct to classify this as a Poplar, as a Garnet in the traditional sense. I think also one of the bigger deals of Poplar going to 1 is that sometimes it makes your original symbol spoils follow up like really bad, right? So for example, let's say you go through Ash, then Poplar on your turn 1, then you literally, if those were the only 2 Snake Eyes monsters you ran, then obviously the original symbol spoils does nothing in your grave since there's no more level 1 fire monster you can add. But I mean, you can solve this issue by simply playing a single copy of Snake Eyes Oak as a search target for all OSS, and then that literally solves the follow-up problem. And yeah, I'm not running Oak here because I'm running the Springans cards, but you can totally just run a copy of Oak instead and still give you a nice follow-up for original symbol spoils. And then you can even weave in Oak during your combo too. I'm not good at Fire King, so like I don't know all of the Oak lines, but definitely Oak I think is possibly standard now, even if you weren't running it before with 1 Poplar. And the other hit is Fire King Kirin going from 3 to 2, so this can be a big deal if you get into a grind game, since it just it lowers the number of Kirin you can use during the game from 3 to 2, obviously. So like, maybe this is something you might notice if a game gets to like turn 3 or turn 4, because you're most likely using up a Kirin during your first combo, or if you're going second, then you're most likely going through a Kirin to break your opponent's board. And then if the game goes past that turn, like it goes to turn 2, if you're going first, then you're gonna have to pop another Kirin to use as a disruption on your opponent's turn to pop your cards. And then if the game goes on for yet another turn after that, that's when you might find yourself in a situation where you're actually out of Kirins. Which, in my opinion, those are the situations where the Kirin hit from 3 to 2 comes up the most, is in long grind games that last like more than 3 or 4 turns, where you're going through a Kirin every turn. Now, this is modern Yu-Gi-Oh, however, and most games generally don't last that long. So in a lot of games where, you know, that's over by turn 3, I think you'll be fine with just the 2 Kirin. Because when you go through your most of your combos, at most you'll add like 1 Kirin to your hand just to have something to pop your Ambler Whale at all times. And then when you summon the Grunicks back, since you're only on 2 Kirin now, you probably don't want to use the Grunicks to send the Kirin from deck. You're gonna want to summon the Grunicks and send the Kirin from hand or field that you have, and preserve the one in deck for later. So you kind of lose a body, but it's also during your opponent's turn, so like you don't really care about having the bodies on field as much as just having a Kirin to pop your cards. So yeah, you're probably going, if you're doing a combo line that ends with having a Kirin in hand, you're going to probably end up using the Grunicks to pop that Kirin instead of the Kirin in deck as a disruption. And there are some lines with Volcanics that involve where if you hard draw Kirin, you do pop the first Kirin, and then Volcanics you will summon back the Volcanics later, and then search the second Kirin from deck, so still have the Kirin available in hand. I think those lines generally you probably don't really want to do that much anymore, because then that goes through both Kirins on turn 1, and that obviously is not ideal. So maybe in those situations you might go for an Arvata instead as your disruption instead of Kirin, and have Arvata be the thing to pop Ambler Whale instead of the Kirin, so you still have access to both Kirin pops later on. And the consistency thing going from 3 to 2, I don't think that's the less important part of the hit, which is the actual chances of physically drawing a Kirin. Like, it is nice to draw Kirin, don't get me wrong, to play around Infirm or Veiler, but this deck didn't need to hard draw the Kirin to play through these cards in the first place. You know, most of the time you were relying on drawing extenders to play through hand traps, you know, like drawing Diabellstars or Bonfires, or you know, sometimes drawing Fire King Island and Sanctuary. Also works if you have any other Fire King monster or any other fire monster even. Or, you know, if you do start with Diabellstar, then drawing Ponyx or all Connex lets you play through the Infirm anyways too. Like, most of the time you still weren't relying on Kirin to play through these cards, since even at 3, you were more likely to not draw it than you were. And the fact that this isn't like Kirin going to 1 or anything, it's only going from 3 to 2. That's not the biggest change in, like, probability of drawing this card. It might, maybe like 1 in 10 games, or like 1 in 9 games, where you wouldn't have, where you don't draw Kirin now, where you would have drawn it before. That's like how often the actual consistency hit will come up. So yeah, it hurts in like the prolonged grind games, but most of the time, I'm gonna be honest, going from 3 to 2 Kirin, you're not really gonna notice too much of a difference whether you're playing with this deck or you're playing against this deck. So that's just my opinion on the hits in general. They don't do nothing. They're definitely decent hits. It's just that, you know, this deck is not anywhere near close to being unplayable. This deck is like, most of the time you might not even notice a difference with if you play this deck, the hits. So yeah. Now onto the Springans part of the deck, and I'm gonna be upfront that this is not probably the optimal way to play this deck. If you wanted to play an optimal list post Banlist, it probably wouldn't include this card. I would just play another copy of Ponyx, and then play in the 40th slot, you know, maybe play an Oak for follow-up, maybe play a Prosperity, maybe play another hand trap instead. But I mean, that's boring, right? Like, why don't we just, what if we want to be based here and just play the Springans cards? So what do these do? So the idea with this engine is, if you don't understand my explanation, don't worry, I will show combos and replays of how to use this. But Fire Kings has a lot of level 8 monsters on the it makes a lot of level 8 monsters. And with level 8 monsters, you can make rank 8s pretty easily, you know, between Garunix, and Kirin. So during your combo, instead of like going through your link stuff first, when you have Garunix and you have another level 8 Fire King monster on the field, you can actually go into Explorer first. And this is the funny card that has a removal effect. You can target a zone and then destroy cards that are adjacent to the zone, which this is actually you can actually use this as removal when you're going second. But obviously, if you're going first, you're not going to use this. You're just gonna make this so that you can overlay a gigantic champion Sargass over it. Like you can summon this over any other Springans Succeeds monster you control, which is going to be the Explorer. And then with this, you can search a Springans card, and you're going to search Tally Ho Springans. This card, when you activate this card, you can detach up to 3 materials from a Springans monster monster you control, which is going to be the Sargass, and then you can add a Springans monster to your hand, which is going to be the main deck Sargass, and then you can special summon up to you can special summon Springans monsters from your hand or grave up to the number of materials you detach. So with this card, like, don't mess this up. Always detach 2 off of your Sargass with Springans, and then you can search Sargass, and that way you can special summon both the Sargass and the Explorer back, since the Springans ship, this is also a Springans monster. And then with Explorer and Sargass on the field, Sargass, when a material is detached on the field, including itself, then you can target a card in the field and either destroy or return to hand. So this is another card you can use. This is another form of removal if you get this far. But turn 1, you're going to target your own Fire King Island, and you're going to return the Fire King Island to your hand. When you do that, the Fire King Island doesn't trigger and destroy all your monsters, because that only happens when it's sent to the graveyard or banished. So now, with the Fire King Island off the field, you don't have to worry about your field getting nuked, and you don't have to worry about losing your Fire King Island and then, you know, getting Raigeki that way. It's a nice bonus. It ensures follow up and plays better around board breakers, stuff like that. And then with Explorer and Sargasso on the field, these are 2 rank 8 exceeds that aren't numerous monsters, which means you can actually use these 2 to go into a UDF. And then the Sargasso on the field, this is also special summon to the field, and this has a disruption effect where you can detach a material from an exceeds monster you control, which you can just easily detach one from UDF. This thing starts with 3 materials on it. And then you can detach and then you can target a face-up card in the field and destroy. So it's an additional pop. So the one rank 8 that you make, which is literally off, you can get literally off of 1 Runick, popping either an Alcanix or popping another, or popping like an Armada to revive a Kirin. That 1 card lets you get to UDF plus a pop. And you don't have to keep this on field either. Sargasso at the end of the day is a fire monster. Honestly, all the Springans cards are fire monsters. This is a fire, this is a fire, this is a fire, you know, for more unintended synergy. But you can also use this to link this off and just use that as a link material, which in the 1 card combos, you will use Sargasso, you will keep the UDF and use Sargasso as a link material, and then do your extended combos from there. But if you have other fire monsters to pop with Fire King Island, then you have an additional buy on field, you can actually keep Sargasso and just get a free interruption. So like this one card, 1 rank 8 gets you 2 interruptions, and then you still do your other Fire King combos on top of that. And I'll show you the end boards you can go through with the 1 card and the 2 card combos. And this is a 4 card engine in the extra deck, so obviously to make room for this, I'll go through the cards that I cut. One, I cut the Zombie Vampire. If you didn't see my list I used for Duelist Cup, I play Zombie Vampire. This card's ridiculous. It's insane. It's like a pseudo prosperity that you can make with basically any hand that has any access to Fire King Island or Runick. But obviously, if you're playing the Springans cards, there's another rank 8 you're going to more often anyway, so you're probably not going to play the Zombie Vampire as a 2nd rank 8 without like playing something like the Horus Engine or something. And then I also cut the Almirage, which Almirage helps you with your weaker combos with just Poplar or just Pawnex. But you know, if I'm open just Poplar or just Pawnex in this deck, you can still make Explorer and you can still end on UDF Sargasso, even with like a hand that doesn't get you anywhere, or that normally didn't get you very far in the first place. So you don't really need the Almirage for this build. The Nightmare Phoenix, it's removal, but again, Explorer is removal as well technically, so you can just use this in the places where you would have used Phoenix, and it's probably fine. And then I cut the Appaloosa, since we're already making UDF on the end board, so having another monster negate in Appaloosa isn't as necessary, in my opinion. And yeah, the rest of the extra deck is very, very standard. You'll see these cards in literally every Fire King deck. The other Runick rank 8, Link Rebo, Salad Migrate, Sonic Wolf, Hida, IP, Dark, SP, 1 Promethean Princess. You could run 2, but the second one usually doesn't come up. Ambler Whale, Zealantis, and Raging Phoenix. And the main deck, for the most part, besides these 2 Springans cards, the main deck is literally the same as any other Fire King deck you'll see. So it's not that much of a commitment in the main deck. And yeah, let me show you how to use these cards. So this is the standard 1 card combo using the Springans stuff, and it's either Snake Eyes Ash or Diabellstar. In this case, it's Diabellstar, so we're gonna pitch a card and set OSS, and then OSS will sack the Diabellstar, get Ash, and Ash will search Pawnex, and then you would normal summon the Pawnex. And this is the start is the same as the normal standard Fire King's combo. Then activate Sanctuary, place Fire King Island, and then Ash will send Fire King's Sanctuary to summon Flamebird from deck. Now, if you started with Ash, then you wouldn't have to send the Sanctuary, because you would have searched Poplar first, and Poplar would have special summoned stuff. Then you would have another monster on the field besides the Pawnex. Then you could Ash send the Linkaribo instead. But here, because we started with Diabellstar, we don't have that extra body. You have to send the Sanctuary for this combo. And then Fire King Island will pop the Pawnex, add Runick. If we didn't already have it, then Runick will special summon itself, and then Runick will pop Volcanics from deck. Volcanics will special summon the other Runics. And now these two, you're gonna make Explorer. Okay, and you're not gonna do anything with Explorer because you're going first, but it is a removal spell. You can detach one material from this to, you know, pop a card if you need to, if you're like doing this line going second. But going first, you don't need to. You just overlay the Sargass on top of the Explorer immediately, and then use Sargass effect. You're gonna add Tally Ho, and this is very important. Don't mess this up. Activate Tally Ho. Detach 2. Detach exactly 2. No more, no less. If you detach any number that's not 2 from the Sargass, this combo will not work. That's just how the card wording is. But yeah, you're gonna detach Runics and Explorer to get these into grave and add Sargass from deck. And next, Tally Ho is gonna special summon Explorer and it's gonna special summon Sargass. So now you have these two on the field, and then Gigantic Champion Sargass is gonna trigger and it's gonna target a card, either destroy it or return to hand. We can target our own Fire King Island and return the Fire King Island to hand. So this way it ensures follow-up on the next turn, but also it means that your board isn't ever in danger of getting nuked from your Fire King Island getting removed, because you put it back in your hand, so you don't have to worry about your island getting popped. And now, of course, you know, these two are 2 rank 8 Xyz, so you can make UDF. And with the 1-card combo, if you had more, I'll show you a 2-card combo where you get to keep Sargass on the field. Sargass is a pop, but with just the 1-card combo, you're actually going to use the Sargass and you're going to link it off with the Flamebird. And you're going to go into IP Masquerena, and then Flamebird is going to bring back 2 monsters, the other 2 level 2s, make a Princess, revive Flamebird, because this is the 1-card combo and you haven't used the Flamebird effect yet. Flamebird will place Volcanics in the spell and trap zone, and then make Amloil. And this is your end bird off of the 1-card combo. You have UDF, Amloil with, you know, everything set up in grave. You have your Runics in grave, your Princess in grave, your Ponix, your IP Masquerade in grave, and Flamberge Scale Volcanics. And this is Flamberge Scale Volcanics is something that you can just do anyways. It's not specific to the Springans build of Fire Kings. Like, this is just a general good play if you have a Flamberge place available. If you have a Flamberge place in the spell trap effect still available during your turn, because what this does is you can essentially summon Volcanics during your opponent's turn at any time, and then when you summon Volcanics can pop the Amloil, and then you get to add Armada to hand, and then that will trigger an Amloil to summon back the IP, and then the Runick's Engrave can summon itself back. Runick's will send a Kirin, pop a card, and then you can immediately summon the Arvada that you just added off the Volcanics from the Kirin effect. So essentially, what Flamberge placing Volcanics does is it gets you access to both a Kirin pop and an Arvada. So it gets you every piece of your Fire King end board, and it's obviously it's a lot of times you would search a Kirin to pop with to pop your Amloil. I have the Kirin because we started with the Runics, but Flamberge plays Volcanics, accomplishes the same thing with that, and it plays around board breakers. It's really this setup is really nice if you have the luxury of not having used your Flamebirds yet during your combo. So yeah, our opponent, I'm not going to be able to showcase any of that off because our opponent's playing Classic. You know, I'm so glad they hit Stun. Surely Stun will not see any more play after the Banlist Clueless. And because they do that, I'm going to have to chain the Kirin immediately to pop the Amloil just so the Amloil goes to the grave, and then they can trigger to summon out the IP. And now at any point I can just make an SP to out the Dimension Fisher, and then still have access to my Fire King stuff, and they're going to Cloud of Prosperity, and they're going to reveal 6, and they're on the Runic version, so that's going to make it a bit harder to do my IP stuff, and, you know, card standard, because, you know, they're going to have quick plays to chain to my stuff. And of course, Scar Standard never gives me a card, and they're going to tip. I'm going to chain my IP to the tip before they add a Freezing Curses to their hand. That way, SP on the field, I can at least guarantee banish the Dimension Fisher. Even if they add like a Freezing Curse, I can just chain the SP to dodge it. So yeah, guarantee get rid of the Dimension Fisher, and they're gonna just add the Destruction anyway. It's Destruction, which is an interesting choice. Don't even bother contesting the SP and now they're gonna Golden Droplets. For some reason, use Droplets first to let me draw a card. You know, clearly I won't ever draw Ash off the Droplet, right? Never punished. And then on the activation of Fountain, I'm gonna target Volcanics, but they did Search to Destruction, so that kind of destroys my Volcanic plan. So I don't get to show you the Volcanics play, but it's fine because you chain the Flambird, you chain the effect to the Runick Fountain. That way, if they chain a Runick Fountain, if they chain a Runick spell before the Runick Fountain fully resolves, they don't actually get the draw. So fun fact, and our opponent did not know that, so they greed it for the draw 3 and ended up drawing 0 cards. And for my top deck, I top deck an Volcanics, and that's gonna pop the entire field. So yeah, that's would have liked to have showed a more interactive game using the interruption, but also I mean we're beating stun, so it's not that bad, right? And here's a 2-card combo, which is basically just a 1-card combo, but you have an additional fire monster to pop for the Fire King Island. You know, specifically something like Volcanics, Kirin, or Arvanta even works. Those are the best ones to pop because you get to summon a monster and they let you keep your Ponix on field, so you're not popping a monster on field. So you get to maintain an extra body as well. You'll see. So first, you know, Witch effect, pitch a card, which get OSS get Ash, add Ponix is the same so far. Then Ponix, add Sanctuary, and then Sanctuary plays Fire King Island, and then I'll link off the Ponix to get it into the grave, and then I'll use Ash, send the Linkaribo to summon out the Flamebird. And we can do this now. You don't even have to sacrifice the Sanctuary for this, because if you open like an Volcanics or one of the Fire King monsters, for example, then you have an additional monster to pop already, so you don't need to keep the Ponix on field to pop. And now your Fire King Island will pop the Volcanics to get the Garuniks out. And then Volcanics will trigger, Garuniks will trigger, summon both the Garuniks out, and then the Garuniks will send an Arvanta to grave, and Arvanta will summon out the Ponix. And now you do your UDF stuff. So here, go to Explorer into Sargass, and then Sargass will add the Tally-Ho detach exactly 2, add Captain Sargass special to Sargass special to Explorer, going to return the Fire King Island to hand. Go Utopic Future, and then Utopic Future into Draco Future. And now, because we have an additional body on the field, because we pop a different fire monster in hand, we can keep this Sargass on the field. We don't have to link this off. So now you have an additional pop on your opponent's turn too. And we're gonna use Flamebird. I'm gonna place the Black Witch because I haven't used the Flamebird's effect, but we're not gonna be ending on Flamebird because the monster zones gets a little clogged if you try to do the Flamebird set Volcanics as well, because you know we have the additional monster on the field. But I will place the Black Witch so that way there's no like dark monster they can take with dark besides Linkaribo, which you can just chain it to the dark, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, and then these two, Ponix plus Flamebird, we're going to IP Masquerena. And then Flamebird will revive 2 monsters. I'll revive the Ponix and the Ash. Link off the Ash and the Masquerena into Princess. And now we're not going to revive Flamebird with this. We're going to revive Volcanics, and Volcanics will sack the Ponix. Because we haven't used the Volcanics with it. All we did was popped it from hands. And then Volcanics will add the Kirin. So now you have the Kirin Actus. And now these two go into Amble, and then you end phase, semi-phase, the Ponix comes back, so we popped it off of the Volcanics, so now you have Amble, Sargass, Utopic Future, Princess, IP, Garunix, Arvanta, and yeah, this is like, I don't know how many interruptions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 interruptions, because you also have the Fire King Sanctuary available, and then you have the Amble pop if you could pop a Link 2 as well, so it's like 7 plus interruptions off of just engine, not even including non-engine. So yeah, this is yeah, hell yeah, Springans best deck, and the Ponix gets the hand for follow. And this also plays better around evenly matched than even the standard Fire King board. So on the evenly matched, Sargass can pop any card, so Sargass will simply detach 1 off UDF and then pop our own Amble. And then And once evenly resolved, everything goes but the UDF, and then that will trigger the Ammo Wheel to summon back the IP, and then you can summon back the Ponix because it was added to your hand, and then you get to search for the Skyburn. So, very nice evenly, or nice evenly. They basically traded evenly for exactly Sargass, exactly the one pop. You still have the Master Duel access, you still have the UDF on the field, and then you also have the Ponix exposing yourself for another search, which the Ponix, because you add the Ponix back, crucially, that means you also have the fire that you can still pop with the Kirin that you add to your hand as well. So you still have basically all of your disruptions live. And our opponent's gonna Prosperity for 6, which gets Ash, because we drew the Ash this time. And look, more stun. I love this. This game is so good. This game is so good. Anyway, we're gonna use Draco Future the Commandants, because what the hell else what other monster effect are we gonna negate? And they're gonna set 2, and at that point we're going to pop Ponix, and that's gonna trigger Runick, and then Runick is gonna send Kirin on field, and then that's gonna pop a card, and then we're gonna IP Masquerade, make SP banish the last card they set on field. So yeah, that evenly, they essentially used evenly as like a smashing ground on the Sargass. That's essentially how much value they got. And yeah, so that was a 2-card combo. Also, work Ash or Diabellstar plus one of the Fire Key monsters you can pop. So now we're playing against a game against fuck Maxi. I agree. So they're going to for some reason in the main phase activate Flashing Fire. Doesn't matter because we have an imperm anyways, but I'm just gonna show them the error of their ways by summoning a Runick monster in the main phase by beta-ring their Hugin. So they're on Runick Spright, they're pitching Carrot, and yeah, that's gonna deny them as Runick Fountain access. So now they're gonna go into Gigantic Spright, and you know, because we're really good at the game, we drew double hand traps because we're just more skilled than our opponent. We're at drawing hand traps. So yeah, we're gonna Ash Gigantic, and they're not even commit any more cards to the field. They only have 2 cards left in hand. So yeah, that was a average game in 2024. So I'm gonna normal summon Ash and then get Maxi. So what do you mean fuck Maxi? Fuck you, bro. Just kidding. So anyway, we're gonna add the single Poplar in our deck because we didn't draw it, and then Poplar we're gonna add OSS, and then link off the Poplar into Link Revolt. I'm going for game because I'm playing against Runick Spright, so I'm like, how much non-engine, how many hand traps do you actually run? Like maybe I'll have to play around the mirror, but that's it. Like I'm not playing around a deck that runs 15 hand traps most likely, because they're playing the fucking Runick cards. So we're going all in. And then Poplar, Ash, send Poplar, and that, and then my Ash gets ashed. Happened a few times to me, but it's fine. All that denies is Flamebird. You can still OSS for the Ponix, and then Ponix will add the Sanctuary, and then Sanctuary add place Fire King Island, pop the Kirin, add Garunix, Kirin effect, Garunix effect, and then special. Both of these out. I hard drew the Arvada, so I can use Kirin to summon the Arvada. I don't pop the Gigantic Spright. No need to play in the Infernum, not like I need it. And then pop the Alcanics. Alcanics get the other Garunix, and then Explore. And I'm not. This is another cool thing is that this line with the Springans cards lets you. It's enough damage to go for game, and it's removal, so it clears the board for you. So you don't actually have to commit to Princess to OTK with the Springans line like you would have to a lot of times into the established boards. So here, Explore, if they had cards worth popping, I could Explore, detach one, pop a card, but all they have is Gigantic Spright, so I don't need to do that. Then I'm going to go into Sargass, and then Sargass will add the Tally Ho, and then activate Tally Ho, detach 2 off Sargass, Explorer plus Garunix, add Sargass, special Sargass, and then special the Explorer, and then this will trigger Sargass's attack effect. Targeting Gigantic Spright, I'm going to just return it. And then this is 8200 with the Ponix on field, so this is game without having to go into any Link monsters. Like literally just going through the Springans line gets you enough body, it usually gets you enough attack for game. also, if you could imagine that if my if my Ash didn't get Ash and there was a Flamebird on the field, this would be even better because then I would, these two, at this point I could overlay these two into UDF as well, and then the UDF could, basically at that point it forces them out to play Nibiru. Because if I had the Flamebird on the field, I could pop one of Explorer, I could return and pop another card of Sargass, and then Flamebirds could place another monster they have in the spell trap zone, so that removes 3 monsters. Basically can clear most fields, and then you can attack directly for game. And they would have to Nibiru at that point with the Flamebird still on the field, because with the Springans line, it lets you summon enough bodies and enough damage on board to OTK without having to go through any Link monster, without having to go through Hida, without having to go through Promethean Princess, Raging Phoenix. So even if they had Nibiru, they would have Nibiru before you use Link out the Flamebirds, and then the Flamebirds, if the Flamebirds gets Nibiru, then they get 2 monsters back, and then you can simply go into your Promethean Princess line to OTK them after they denied you the OTK with the Springans line. So this, the Springans line, don't underestimate that this isn't just a line to make a UDF going first and like add on to your going first board. This engine is very good at going second too, and it even makes you even better into hand traps than the deck already is. That prevent you from prevent you from OTKing your opponent. And I agree, fuck Maxi. So now we're going second, and Kashtira sleeves. I wonder what our opponent could be playing. Special Ogre. Ogre, add prep. Normal summon Ash, go into Baron the floor. Activate Birth. Birth revive Ogre set 2. So yeah, we're gonna strongest Kashtira end board. Honestly, this isn't bad. Baron plus set 2 plus Birth plus Ogre it's not the worst. I've seen Kashtira end on a lot less. But this hand, we open no hand traps, which means that this hand is all gas and they're gonna die 5 different ways. So first, I'm gonna normal summon Alchanics. Just see what they react to anything. See how long they hold the Baron negate for. Alchanics will trigger. They're gonna trigger Ogre, and I'm gonna special Ponyx. And yeah, smartest Kashtira player. Okay. Revealed Flamebird plus Skyburn. What do you banish? That's right, you banish the Skyburn. I guess it was fair. They probably, because I led with Alchanics, they probably were hoping that I don't have access to the Snake Eyes engine, which, would be a fair assumption. But except I hard drew the OSS because it's a royal rare and it's glued to my hand. So yeah, unfortunately this is gonna come back to bite them. The greedy banish of Skyburn. So now we're gonna add Fire King Island because, well, I've gone through all of my my Ponyx Search Strikers already. So yeah, and now we're gonna link into Hida, and this just shows like how much gas Fire King has in general, because I'm gonna basically just do random plays to bait out interruption before I commit my other cards. So yeah, we're gonna go Promethean Princess, and Promethean Princess brings back something whatever. I probably should have activated these cards earlier because now I'm actually in range of Birth. Like before, I could have just activated Fire King Sanctuary and then put the island on the field, and then so on and so forth. That way I wouldn't play into Birth. But now, if I activate these, I'm gonna lose 3 cards from my grave for no reason. So yeah, but doesn't end up mattering. So we're gonna Raging Phoenix and the Zealantis. I'm like, okay, so this is 100% guaranteed to bait out the interruption. So yeah, this baits out the Baron, and that goes one of my plays. But now you can do Sanctuary. They're going to banish 3 from my grave, which at this point I don't care because I don't need Promethean Princess anymore because I already went through the Zealantis anyways. Activate Fire King Island, activate Original Symbol Spoil, send the Sanctuary, get Ash, see if they have anything. If they had an Imperm or call, honestly, what they have doesn't really matter right now because I had the crossed out anyways. And one of their sets is Prep, which does nothing. Oh yeah, Ash, get Poplar, get the one-off Poplar, link off into Linkery Bow. Poplar set itself, and then Ash, summon the Flamberge that they didn't ban for some reason. So now the Flamberge is out, and then the Flamberge will place the Ogre, and then I'll use Fire King Island, pop the Grunix, add Nevada because I already have the Grunix in hand, special Garunix will send Kirin, and then Kirin will revive Garunix. And they leave, but I mean, yes, they were dead, but I didn't. I was gonna go into Springans line. The reason I was like also okay with committing to my princess and Zealandis line early was because I'm playing the Springans cards. I can find gain without using Promethean Princess. So I was more than willing to just summon my Promethean Princess and my Zealandis out, guaranteed force out interruptions first, and then later on use Fire King Island second, and then Fire King Island go into the Springans cards. Springans cards will pop three. Springans cards plus Flamebridge will pop three monsters on my opponent's field up to, and then I'll attack for game that way, and that's fine as well. So yeah, if you played in the Xyz Cup, you should remember this deck terrorizing that event, and now that it's no longer locked to just Xyz, that you can actually play Lynx with the Springans package as well, it gets even better. So if you're someone who's bored of the normal Fire King Snake Eyes cookie cutter builds, but happen to own these specific URs like the UDF and the Springans URs, Sargass and the Explorer, then feel free to give this build a try. And just imagine the look on your opponent's faces when they get beat down by a new ship and a bunch of Springans cards.